The sun is a star, and like all stars, it will eventually die. However, the sun's death will be a very slow and gradual process. The sun is currently in the middle of its life cycle. It is powered by nuclear fusion, in which hydrogen atoms are fused together to create helium atoms. This process releases a tremendous amount of energy, which is what powers the sun's light and heat. The sun will eventually run out of hydrogen to fuse. When this happens, it will begin to fuse helium atoms together to create carbon atoms. This process releases less energy than nuclear fusion of hydrogen, so the sun will begin to cool down and expand. The expansion of the sun will cause it to engulf Mercury and Venus. It may also engulf Earth, but this is not certain. Once the sun has exhausted its helium fuel, it will begin to fuse carbon atoms together to create heavier elements, such as oxygen and neon. This process releases even less energy than nuclear fusion of helium, so the sun will continue to cool down and expand. Eventually, the sun will expand so much that it will become a red giant star. Red giants are very large stars with relatively cool surfaces. The sun will remain a red giant for a few 100 million years. During this time, it will lose a lot of mass through its stellar wind. Eventually, the sun will lose so much mass that it will collapse into a white dwarf star. White dwarfs are very dense stars that are about the size of Earth. White dwarfs do not produce any energy, so they slowly cool down over time. The sun will eventually cool down to become a black dwarf star. Black dwarfs are very cold and dark stars, and they are essentially dead. The sun will die about 5 billion years from now. This is a very long time, so we don't need to worry about it happening anytime soon. Here is a more detailed timeline of how the sun will die. 1 billion years from now, the sun will begin to fuse helium atoms together. This will cause it to expand and cool slightly. 5 billion years from now, the sun will run out of helium fuel and begin to fuse carbon atoms together. This will cause it to expand and cool even more. 10 billion years from now, the sun will become a red giant star. It will engulf Mercury and Venus, and it may also engulf Earth. 11 billion years from now, the sun will lose so much mass through its stellar wind that it will collapse into a white dwarf star. Trillions of years from now, the white dwarf sun will cool down to become a black dwarf star. The sun's death will be a very slow and gradual process. It will take billions of years for the sun to die completely.